Good morning, everybody, and welcome into Coffee Break presented by Bath Fitter. And happy Monday. If you're in the Mile High City, you know it's spring like weather here. DMAC, how are you? How was your weekend?
Rachel, my weekend was great. How was your skiing?
Um, it was a little rough. I won't lie to you. I was back in the lodge because it was so windy and it was so cold. We got stuck, so we went to A Basin. We got stuck on the pass for like 30 minutes
I'm sorry,
because
stuck on the what?
the Levelland Pass.
No.
Yeah,
What? That's scary.
yeah, it actually was. It was like whiteout conditions, like you couldn't see the
Whoa.
car in front of you. And they had semis who hadn't chained up, so they were chaining at the very top, and we were just like all stuck there. It was wild, but
How
I
far,
was expecting like spring snow. It was not spring snow.
how far up the pass did you get?
We got all the way, so we ended up making it before they completely shut it down. So we took it all the way up and then down into A Basin. But yeah, it was crazy. Like I couldn't believe that we just sat there for like 30 minutes.
Wow. Okay. Well, that sucks. It was super windy, and obviously we've had fire issues and all sorts of wild and crazy things. So bad luck on your day off, Rachel. I'm sorry to hear that.
That's all right. I still enjoyed it. It was nice to get away. I love tuning into you and Will and everybody in the comments. I loved it too. Good morning to Elizabeth and Mel already too. We're gonna have a really fun show. We're obviously gonna be talking about the Nuggets. We're still on Miko watch. Not feeling so good about the record, DMAC, but we'll get into that. And then we also have a guest joining us from Houston for the national championship. And then, of course, we'll get into some other things too. But first, let's start off with the Nuggets because was it the best home win of the season for them as they beat the Golden State Warriors by only 2 points? And who knows what would have happened? Jamal Murray hadn't come in clutch there, DMAC.
Well, it's important to know Nikola Jokic did not play, and he's got calf tightness that I think is real.
Mm-hmm.
However, if this was the playoffs, I think he'd be playing. They
Okay.
are now, because they won last night, 112 to 110, one game away from clinching. And Rachel, they played the pathetic Houston Rockets, rather, coming up here. The Texans are pathetic too.
Yeah.
The Rockets coming up here in a couple days. So even without Jokic, they're going to clinch. So I don't know exactly what they're going to do. But
Mm-hmm.
here's why last night mattered. This game was important to the Golden State Warriors.
It,
Going into the game, they were 9-29 on the road. They are fighting for seeding. This game was important. They played all of their big guys. Nobody took a night off. They played major minutes. They had rest. I mean, there was no excuses for them.
yeah.
And they still couldn't beat the Nuggets after having a 15-point lead.
Yep.
So what really happened is everybody was a little bit off, and Michael Porter Jr. put the team on his back. He collected 29 points by the end of the third quarter, and then Jamal Murray kind of snapped into it. Jamal made a couple of gargantuan threes, made two huge defensive stops, including blocking Klay Thompson basically at the buzzer.
Yep.
But the emergence of Peyton Watson, what did you think of Peyton Watson, Ray? Did you even know who Peyton Watson was?
I did know who Peyton Watson was, but it was literally like, welcome home, welcome to Nuggets Nation, Peyton Watson. So I actually want to ask you, based on the what we saw last night, who would you take if you were drafting an NBA team? Are you taking Christian Brown or are you taking Peyton Watson?
Ah, well, I'll still take Christian Brown, but I think Peyton Watson's was a brilliant choice as well. I think Brown can do a little bit more offensively right now, but they're both kind of limited. Listen, Peyton Watson, I don't know if he'll ever develop much of an outside shot. I don't know. I'm not sure if I care. The guy is a dynamic athlete, shot blocker, kind of a skinny version of an Aaron Gordon.
Uh-huh.
And if he does have an outside shot, maybe it develops in time.
Yeah.
But what he can bring in terms of especially defensive energy, Rachel, holy shnikes. Are
Yeah.
you kidding me? I mean, with a minute to go, I'm looking at the huddle and it's Christian Brown with Peyton Watson, Jamal Murray, Aaron Gordon, and Bruce Brown. And that's who's about to go into the game.
But I love too that Malone isn't shying away from the rookies. Like he's known for always shying away from them, but it seems like as of recent he's kind of relying on him. I mean, he put Christian Brown back in the game with what, like 3 minutes to go, maybe? Like that's huge for Michael Malone. You never see that.
It was a interesting game, and I was very carefully watching Michael Porter Jr. Okay, and you
Okay.
say Why in the world did the Nuggets lose so poorly on Thursday to the Pelicans and win this big game? Without Jokic, now this is all without Jokic talk here, Rachel, but without Jokic, if Michael Porter Jr. doesn't hit at least 4 3-pointers, you're toast.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody could hit a 3-pointer in that game last night until Michael Porter Jr. Rachel, had Michael Porter Jr. hit 4 3-pointers on Thursday night, like he did last night, they would have beat the Pelicans, okay? I guarantee it. It's 12 points. They shot terrible from the free throw line, too. That game Thursday night was probably the worst game of the season, and the game Sunday was likely the best home win of the season. So what team, Rachel, are the Nuggets? Are they that team from Thursday or the team from Sunday?
I don't know. And that's kind of the scary part is I don't know the true identity of the Denver Nuggets yet. And we're 6 games away from the beginning of the playoffs. Like there's not a whole lot of time left, D-Mac. And I still can't tell you the identity of this team besides they have the best player in the NBA in Nikola Jokic, who's dealing with a hamstring injury right now.
If I were writing a book about the Denver Nuggets season in George R.R.R.R. Martin Game of Thrones sort of style, I would call Denver Nuggets fragility and domination, kind of like fire and ice. Game of fragility and domination, because that's who they are. They either seemingly just fall apart and you don't recognize them, but more times than not, Rachel, more times than not, it is domination if you really watch this team closely. I mean, they've only lost 7 games at home. Mm-hmm. They lead the Western Conference. They're going to win. They likely will. They'll win with a Memphis loss or beating the pathetic Houston Rockets.
They need one win, yeah.
Anything.
They just need one win. But, D-Mac, you never know who's going to show up that night. You never know which Jamal Murray's going to show up. You never know which MPJ's going to show up. I mean, you know what you're going to get when you get the Joker out there, but otherwise, it's kind of a 50-50 coin toss of a flip of like, hey, who's going to show up tonight and who's not? And you can't have that in the playoffs.
Well, they're down by 15 in the second quarter, and I thought, oh, well, here we go. They're going to 25. They just can't do it without Jokic. And it was Michael Porter Jr. I swear to God, it was MPJ, and it wasn't just 3-point shooting. It was offensive rebounding, defensive rebounding. It was playmaking top to bottom by Michael Porter Jr. And he is not some sort of wallflower hanging out behind the 3-point line. He had a double-double, 11, 12 rebounds, something like that. I mean, Michael Porter Jr. had a dynamite game. And it was enough until Jamal Murray sort of came along. Jamal was just kind of off. It is fair to say you're never quite sure with Jamal Murray because that's what it feels like. However, it's so important to know the confidence level on Jamal is off the charts. Mm-hmm. And he doesn't shy away from the situation, even if he's not having a great game. So with about 7.5 minutes to go, Jamal was leading the team in minutes. Michael Porter Jr. was going to go in for him.
Yep.
But Jamal just went on a run. And MPJ basically waved himself off, okay? Mm-hmm. I know you get a different story from our pal James Marilat, but I was there too. And MPJ looked at Michael Malone and was basically like, no, I mean, because he was going to go in for Jamal, but Jamal was kind of hot. Yep. It went for another couple minutes, and Jamal did come out for MPJ because he was a little tired. And then Malone got Jamal back in. There was another weird moment. There was a defensive substitution where MPJ came off. But Rachel, it was only for 2 possessions, and he was back on the court with less than 40 seconds to go. And he was on the court for the end of the game as well. So, listen, I get it with some people thinking Malone's got something against MPJ. I mean, the guy had 29 points. He was unbelievable. Mm-hmm. I do think there's a shorter rope for MPJ. I do think his teammates don't get him the ball as much as they should. But there's no doubt he is a critical, beyond critical member to this team.
No, and I'm 100% with you. I agree also that I think he is on a shorter leash with Michael Malone, but I also think that there's something about they're trying to help Jamal Murray with the confidence level. Like, I still think there's a little bit of something there that's not 100% clicking with Jamal Murray. And when he does get in that rhythm, that it's important to keep him out there. So I love that you're saying he called himself off and he said, no, coach, like let him do his thing. Because I think it's really important for Jamal Murray. You can tell by just the facial expressions that he's having, the way he's acting out on the court. He has a major chip to prove, DMAC, when it comes to hopefully winning an NBA championship for this town. How hot do you think Jamal is feeling the water to be able to produce that?
I don't think he's feeling hot at all.
Hmm.
I don't think this guy. I don't think this guy changes a bit. I think he's hyper competitive. I think he's hyper competitive in a positive way. I think he is filled with nothing but unbelievable amounts of confidence. And I just think Jamal would be a little bit better served when Michael Porter Jr. is feeling it, to make sure Michael Porter Jr. is more involved. But then again, Rachel, I don't want to quash the natural instincts that get these guys to this level either. I'm not going to do it. So you need them all to win, okay? Let's not get it twisted.
Uh-huh.
You need them all to win. What was really fun and fascinating was the emergence last night of Peyton Watson as a defender and an energy provider.
Uh-huh.
And that is going to give Michael Malone a lot to think about if he adjusts his rotation to get Watson. And it's so crazy to get this sort of like, this late in the season. But for some context, he and Jack White have been splitting a lot of time between Denver and Grand Rapids so they could actually play, okay? He has been killing it in the GR. That's what I'm calling it, Grand Rapids, the GR. And he gave props to Grand Rapids last night after the game, saying, this is a place where I can go to make mistakes and grow, and I really appreciate the support that I've gotten from them. He's had unbelievable games for the Denver Gold with Grand Rapids, Rachel. I mean, like 30-point, crazy games that have just been outstanding. So he's gotten stronger. He's developed his game better. He's a very young guy. And guess who his biggest mentor is Kevin Durant. Durant sort of picked him out in high school. They began a dialogue. He played at UCLA, where Durant does train in the offseason. So he's gotten to know Durant. He's his hero and mentor. And now, ironically, they may be meeting up, here in the playoffs shortly. So Peyton Watson's got a really, really cool story. And check this out. He was coming off of illness. He had a cold. He could barely talk after the game. He was sick. KCP's been sick, non-COVID stuff, but just guys were sick.
Yeah.
I think there's something going on. I'm calling it gala flu, because something was happening last Tuesday at that gala, because you had guys on the Avalanche that were kind of under the weather.
Oh, really? I didn't know that either. Like gala flu, I love that. Moving on. It's funny because I actually disagree with you on the Jamal Murray confidence. I think Jamal Murray has a lot of confidence, but DMAC, for him to sometimes get in a rhythm, you really see him take some stupid shots. Like, there has definitely been times when I was like, Jamal, like, why are you taking this? But I think he's got that confidence, but really to feel it, he has to be in the zone. And so that's when I struggle when it comes to Jamal Murray, because sometimes I'm like, Jamal, you're not feeling it, like you're not on, you just gotta pass the ball. But that's a whole other conversation too.
Okay.
Tell me I'm wrong.
I know where you're coming from, but last night Steph Curry was 8 of 26, and I believe Klay Thompson was 9 of 26. Yep. Something like that. I think they were combined 17 for 57, something along those lines.
Yeah.
Sometimes shooters got to shoot. And, on every team, you got some guys who are going to put up shots. And listen, Jokic is efficient. MPJ has to be efficient. Mm-hmm. For Murray, it's kind of a different story. If things aren't going well, they allow him to shoot his way out of it, because you can see what happens when he does that late in games. Mm-hmm. I'll go to Jared Bednar, because he was talking about Nathan McKinnon, and he said, well, it's one thing to be able to, put up points and do whatever when it's early in the season and things don't matter that much. It's another thing to do when the situation gets bigger and you play better. Mm-hmm. Rachel, for as much frustration as people may have for Jamal Murray, I'm telling you, when the situation gets bigger, he plays better. And he's never going to be afraid to take that shot. He was outstanding in the fourth quarter, offensively and defensively. But you had to get there, and he did not play well to get there. So if Michael Porter Jr. doesn't do what he does, if Christian Brown doesn't have 40 minutes, if Peyton Watson doesn't have 3, probably should have been 4 blocks as one was ruled a goaltending. Rachel, if that doesn't happen, then you don't even have an opportunity for Jamal Murray to be that guy.
I know, but you also got to remember the end of the game is not about just the one guy either. Like, if Jamal Murray is just not making shots, they're not going to win in a 7-game series against the Phoenix Suns. He's got to be able to just move the ball around a little bit more. Listen, I'm a Jamal Murray fan. I am here for Jamal Murray. I want him to succeed, but I do think that sometimes when he struggles, he just can't do the dumb shots. That's all I'm saying.
Rachel, the dumb shots come with the great shots. You gotta, it's just the way it goes. But listen, there were more good shots and smart shots and great shots last night when it mattered most. And you know what? It was the Jamal. Listen, the end of the game was crazy. Okay, so
Insane.
they get a rebound and they get the ball to Bruce Brown, and the Nuggets didn't score in the last 2 minutes and 44 seconds of the game. I mean, it was a crazy finish. They get the ball to Bruce Brown just over center court. He gets mugged. I mean,
literally fouled at least 5 times. At least 5 times.
How is that not a foul? I mean, it's confounding. And then it's a tip ball. It's a jump ball. I mean, it never got to that. They were up by 2. Bruce Brown should have been at the line. Hopefully he makes a couple shots. The game's over.
Yep.
But, I mean, that was insane that a foul wasn't called. And then it was just like, oh, my God, they're about to lose. Like, they lose the tip.
I know.
It was Steph Curry throws it over his head to Klay Thompson, who's, for Klay Thompson, wide open.
Yep.
The fact he missed that 3, after hitting that ridiculous 3 from the corner to put them in that situation.
Yep.
The fact that he missed the 3 was a miracle. Rachel, the ball bounced off the back rim back to Klay Thompson. I mean, he barely moved. And he had a wide open look again.
I know.
If Jamal Murray doesn't charge at him and get just like his fingertips on the ball, you know that's going to go in. It's going to be a buzzer beater, and the Nuggets will lose the game.
By 1 point. It was crazy. The Bruce Brown thing, I literally was like, there's 5 fouls. Like, you could just see it. And the fact that they could even be like, jump ball, I was like, how? Those are the calls when you're literally like, is the NBA, like, is there some sort of backstory here? Because I was like, there's no way you could look at this and be like, jump ball. Like, no one else had hands on the ball. It was just getting fouled on Bruce Brown. And he even was like, what the hell just happened? So,
well, everybody was. Malone was like that afterwards. And then if you really watch the end of the game, there's a little bit of a fracas involving Peyton Watson, some players, and coach Warriors, and Michael Malone had to be sort of separated, and he was really getting into it with one of the referees. And I asked him what was going on. He said, yeah, we were making dinner reservations. It went on to detail a couple of restaurants that I assume Michael Malone gets free meals at. So, I mean, he was joking. I was like, all right, if you don't want to talk about it, you don't want to talk about it. But clearly there was some extracurriculars after the game was said and done. I think part of it is the energy level from young guys and their passion. This is the biggest moments of their lives. You're seeing it right now. It's not just a average ho-hum sort of moment for them. No, Peyton Watson was clear on social media. He's arrived. And I would caution him to just be a little careful with stuff like that on social media, Rachel. We've seen that, boomerang on guys. But I'm happy for the young man.
No, I'm with you. Jordan Poole is actually a really good example. Last year, everyone was like, oh, Jordan Poole's arrived, and he has struggled this season. We got to talk about the Colorado Avalanche, though, because Miko Watch is continuing. He ends up getting a goal over the weekend against the Stars. But, D-Mac, I'm not feeling too good about the record.
54, so he's at 49 now. Well, don't forget, they play the Sharks, who stink, twice. And they also play the Ducks. They've got 7 games left. And to break the record, he would need, that is tough. He would need 6 goals in just 7 games. I'm not feeling great about the record, too. Jared Bednar said after the game that, listen, he doesn't think Nico was really thinking about 50 goals. excuse me, when you have 39, 40, 41. But Bednar just kind of laughed a little bit. He goes, well, it's human nature at this point. I mean, you're so close. You can taste it. After the game, I asked Mikko about getting closer, and he goes, empty netters don't count. He was being facetious and he was joking around. But that was a crazy shot. He was from three-quarter ice behind his own blue line. I call it the Finnish flapjack. They just sort of flips it in the air, and the puck flutters and goes bar down. Yeah. He goes bar down from three-quarters ice. I mean, that was ridiculous. And he admitted he had never done anything like that, too. Earlier, that was a crazy finish to that game, by the way. The game was basically over. It was 3-1. The Stars pulled their goalie with over 3 minutes to go, which is way early. Yep. And there's Mikko. He hits the shot, and Val tips it in. And, again, I talked to Mikko afterwards. He goes, oh, no, it's okay. The shot was going to miss the net. But Val kind of apologized to Mikko on the ice, like, sorry. Didn't mean to do that. I get what's going on. So that should have been it, Rachel. That should have been it for the night. 4-1. Okay, 2.5 to go. You put your goalie back in. Let's skate around. Game's over.
Yeah.
Bo Byron picks up a penalty, which is like, what are you doing? And the Stars score a goal 30 seconds into their power play.
Yeah.
But then they pull the goalie again. Don't forget there was no scoring in this game, and all of a sudden we're going crazy, and that led to the empty net opportunity. So I think the hockey karma gods are favoring Mikko Rantanen right now, Rachel, because he really could have got an empty netter that Val got, and they gave him another empty netter opportunity that – how did that puck go in? How do you flip a puck from that far away and it goes bar down? I mean, that's crazy.
D-Mac, I can't even ice skate, let alone think about what those guys can do out there with a stick and a puck. So at the speed that they could do it. Mikko. So previous, he's had 2 goals in the last 6 games. Yep, right. 2 goals in the last 6. But before that, he had, I think, 5 goals in 5 games. So he was on a roll. So you mentioned that they had, they've got some bad teams coming up. What do you need to see out of Mikko Rantanen for the next few games? Or is it really what you need to see out the rest of the team for you to feel confident?
Well, I don't need to see anything from Mikko Rantanen. He's been absolutely outstanding. I don't need to see anything from Nathan McKinnon. He has 97 points in 64 games. Yeah. His record from 2018-19 or 17-18, I think, one of those years, was 99 points in 82 games. Rachel, he has 97 points in 64 games because he missed a bunch during the middle of the year with his abdomen injury. Yep. So I don't need to see anything from these guys.
Yep.
These guys are ridiculous. The Chushkin's playing better.
He is. Let's talk about the choo-choo train. The choo-choo train struggled. He's been on a little bit of a roller coaster, obviously dealing with a lot of injuries. The choo-choo train, though, I think he's back for the playoffs. I think he's ramping up right now, and he's on his way to make a large choo-choo.
Well, he never does interviews, but he did an interview with the Denver Gazette. Good for them for that, Val. I've been around the Avs for basically 2 straight years, and I've talked to Val maybe twice. And I'm not trying to avoid him. I find him a fascinating guy. Yep. It's just not really into chatting and having interviews. The couple of interactions have been just fine. I think, but what I think is going on, I think he really has been injured. I think he still is injured right now, and it's hockey, so you really just don't know. So I think he's been battling with things, Rachel, this entire year, which is kind of maybe throwing him off the game. But it's playoff time, and it doesn't matter. And that was a huge game for the Avalanche on Saturday. Okay, that was big. They got
confidence.
What's that?
It was a big confidence booster too, especially because of how they played against the Stars the previous time.
Yeah, and so it was important because they won the series against the Stars. They won the tiebreaker against the Stars.
Yep.
Minnesota lost, which is great. So now the Avs actually do control their own destiny. They have got 7 games left. They've got a game in hand. They will always have a game in hand because of that goofy water main break against Nashville. So they'll really know what they need to do depending on how important it will be for them in terms of seeding. Now it's the NHL, and seeding doesn't really matter that much. But what I think is important is I think the Avalanche just needed a moment of like, hey, we can beat a playoff team at home, right? I mean, they had just lost game after game after game to playoff teams while they were smoking, the lousy teams. So I think, they had lost to Dallas in March. They controlled the game more or less top to bottom. They got a great reversal of a goal. Jared Bednar challenged a goal when Logan O'Connor got pushed into Georgiev. They won that challenge. They beat the Stars. They handled them physically. And there were no passengers like there were against Minnesota. That was a disappointing loss. And Bednar called them out for having passengers on the bus. No passengers. Great effort. And your best players playing their best. Plus, we're seeing Gabe back on the ice. Lehkonen on the ice. We saw Pavel Francouz back on the ice.
Wait, I missed it. When?
He was at the morning skate before the game on Saturday. He skated kind of on his own, took some shots, and then got off for the main practice. So he's getting closer. So Lehkonen's getting closer. Gabe's getting there. Manson's getting there. Frankie's getting there. I mean, everybody's kind of getting there, Rachel. So, I mean, I guess if we just see the effort the Avs put out, which they're more than capable of doing on Saturday, the rest of the year, we're fine. They've got 7 annoying games left. They've actually proved what they need to prove. And now they've kind of got to, suck it up. They got this 3-game road trip in California, a really weird one, Rachel. They play San Jose Tuesday and Thursday in San Jose. So it's like a weird sort of playoff sort of system.
Kind of. RJ has a good question. Why doesn't McKinnon come out for the Stars of the game presentation?
Does he not?
It is noticeable.
Does he not do that? I don't know. Hey man, listen, I got nothing but respect for Nathan McKinnon.
Yep.
But he makes Jamal Murray look like a teddy bear. He's kind of, I don't know. He's Nate. He's a quirky guy. He, got a kind of a prickly personality at points. And I don't know. Everybody's kind of scared of Nathan McKinnon, including me. Yeah, we're all kind of scared about Nate. Oh, I don't know, because he doesn't want to. He was approached after the game the other night. He didn't want to talk. It's like, all right, fine, you don't want to talk. Like, Mikko will always talk. Mikko's great. Kale will always chat you up. Georgiev is so nice and humble and quiet. Evan Rodriguez, most of the guys are absolutely fine. But, like, if Nate brushes you off, nobody even, okay, all right, Nate, whatever you say. And Jamal's kind of like that, too. Here's what's funny about Jamal. Nate just doesn't want to talk. Jamal does want to talk, but when he does talk, he's going to put you on blast.
Okay, so my memory of Nathan McKinnon, this will tell you like how serious it is, and I love you say that makes Jamal Murray look like a teddy bear. It is the parade. I am there. He is walking through the crowd. He's got security like all around him, and I'm doing the vlog that I typically do for the parade. He's like kind of semi there. I'll give a little bit of credit, and I'm just talking to him, right? And all the other guys I've talked to, yeah, exactly, are very happy. They're all like open mouth, like telling me whatever. They're just so excited to be there. Nathan McKinnon is about as stone-faced as you could possibly see a human, who is just like, I am on a mission to get to this stage. Like, he didn't crack a smile. He didn't do anything. He was just on a mission, and I feel like that is just Nathan McKinnon all the way down to the core. Like, he is on a mission, and that's all he wants to do. Like, I'm pretty sure during the parade, he was already looking ahead to this year and trying to win the Stanley Cup again.
Yeah, I mean, that's why Nathan McKinnon is great, because his talent is next level. I mean, he's one of the top, God, I don't know. I mean, 3? I mean, no worse than 4th best player in the world. Yeah. So, I mean, let's just start there. And by the way, there's no way Jamal Murray's like in the conversation for top 4 or 5 player in the world. I mean, Jamal may be in the conversation for top 30, so let's just start there. I mean, there's an elite status with Nathan McKinnon that, I mean, the only person more elite than Nathan McKinnon here in town is Nikola Jokic. That's it. I mean, that is literally it. He is as great as Cale Makar is, and Cale is fantastic. McKinnon has just a bit more importance and presence and ability than even Cale Makar. He's that good right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't care. Like, you do whatever you want, Nate. You want to talk to us, you don't want to talk to us. The only thing that's a little weird is it can sort of grind you out if you have to deal with that every day. But at this time of the year, Rachel, it's actually fine. That they're through the really rough patches of the season. They can see the finish line. Okay, so this is when you want to amp up that intensity. I don't believe there's anything. There's not something like too much intensity at this point. Okay, it can be like that at different points of the year. We're past that. This is where you really need to dial it in and really get yourself to the highest level possible. So there's literally nothing about his personality or ability that's a negative with Nathan McKinnon. I mean, absolutely, positively nothing. He is exactly who you need, and he's playing exactly the way you need him to play. I can't say more good things about Nathan McKinnon.
Which is why we're so lucky to have him be in Colorado.
Absolutely.
DMAC, the national championship game tonight is here for men's college basketball, and I'm really excited because one of my friends, Bridget Howard, is down in Houston because she is the Mountain West reporter as we bring her in. Bridget, how are you?
Hi, guys. Yeah, this is nuts down here. Absolutely crazy. I mean, can we believe it? San Diego State is playing for a national title.
Never in a million years would I have thought this. Literally never. I would never have done this on my bracket.
3 years into working for the Mountain West, and we're down here. I'm down here for the Final Four. I never imagined that we would be here, but I mean, what better people to happen to? I mean, San Diego State, they've continued to just dominate and be a great team in the Mountain West, and now you're seeing that play out on the national stage. And I mean, what an exciting time for San Diego State, but also for the Mountain West. I mean, really getting that national attention, I think this league absolutely deserves.
I think it's important just even for the smaller schools. Like, the Mountain West isn't the smallest conference by any means, but they're not the SEC, they're not the Big 12. There's a ton of other huge schools. So for them to actually represent the smaller conferences, the smaller universities, I think it's so cool. But Bridget, I loved your video that you posted. I'm going to play it up on the screen right now because she has a reaction video, you guys. It is so good. You can just tell she's literally like, holy smokes, what is going on? What happened? So walk me through. I'm going to be a reporter to you. Walk me through that moment when you saw the buzzer beater go in down there.
Yeah, well, first things first, I'm glad I had my nails done, or else I would have been like biting them profusely throughout those last couple of seconds of the game. It was insane. The crowd basically went silent, and we're sitting on press row and we're looking at each other. I'm sitting next to Jesse Kurtz and we're like, are they going to call a timeout? Are they going to call a timeout? And they don't. And then obviously it ends in the hands of Lamont Butler. And you guys have seen on social media how close it looked like he almost went to stepping out of bounds. Looking back, I mean, it gives me anxiety looking back at it, but thankfully he didn't step out of bounds and the crowd went silent. I mean, that place was quiet as soon as they're realizing, the time is like going down and he gets the shot off, and when I tell you, that place went absolutely nuts. I mean, fans were going crazy. We were sitting right behind the show, San Diego State student section. It looked like a mosh pit in front of us. I mean, there's beers going everywhere. I mean, people are throwing drinks. I mean, it was one of the coolest experiences. But yes, that reaction video, I was just in shock. I think we might have blacked out a little bit during that period because I'm looking around and, I mean, San Diego State headed to the national championship. I think it took a couple of hours for that to actually set in what we had just witnessed.
Oh, it's so much fun. I love college basketball. I'm looking forward to tonight. DMAC, too, you've been a part of quite a few big games in your lifetime, I feel like, as a reporter. Like, what is, for you, the moment that sticks out when you're like, oh, yeah, this was one of those big, holy crap moments?
Well, there's nothing like when your team goes to a championship.
I know. So jealous of Bridget.
It's like you really are pinching yourself. Never mind, you're just a bunch of beach bums from San Diego State waiting for the oncoming baseball season. Like, what are we doing here? I mean, that is absolutely incredible. And I do love the reaction from, we saw reaction during the Rockies-Padres game, where they put the game up on the big screen, and that there was a lot of people at that game all going bananas and nuts. And And San Diego is a wonderful, wonderful city. I love San Diego. I think San Diego and Denver have a lot of things in common aside from, the Pacific Ocean. But if you look at the downtown districts and sort of the size of the cities, you can find a lot of commonalities. So to imagine a college basketball team from Denver playing in the national championship, I mean, it's like ludicrous. So I would say you must be enjoying it. Enjoy it the best you can. Odds are going to be rough, but the odds have been rough against San Diego State the entire year. So
you can't count out the Aztecs. They are underdogs in this one, but hey, they've been picked as underdogs. They beat the number 1 overall seed Alabama. I mean, you cannot count this San Diego State team out. Against FAU, it did not look great after that first half. They were down by as many as 14 points. They come back. I mean, there's so much going for this San Diego State team, and even though they're underdogs, I think the Aztecs have got a really good chance in this one to surprise some people.
I got a question for you guys, though, real quick. What do you think? The women's national championship game, all that stuff. What do you guys think?
I think you love to see it. I think it's incredible, what Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese are doing for the game of women's basketball. And I'm all here for it. I'm all here for the smack talk. I think it's great. And, she got the ring.
I'm 100% with Bridget. I'm like, talk all the smack you want. You showed up and you absolutely dominated that game. Like, it didn't come down to a buzzer beater, right? Like, it wasn't close. LSU literally dominated that game. I'm here for the smack talk. I say keep it going. Like, I don't care. I think if you can go out there and absolutely dominate a team in a national championship game, even if that happens tonight to whichever team, I think go for it. Talk all the smack you want. But if it's a close game, I don't think you can talk smack because you're going head-to-head then. You can't talk smack after that game. But if it's a big blowout, all for it.
There's a difference between talking smack and not being able to back it up, and then talking smack and being able to back it up. And I think I'm all here for that.
For those critical about the moment, I hope you kept receipts about being critical for all the men's sports that do the same exact thing. You better have those receipts. Other than that, I think it's just, first of all, it's young people too. And the competitive level is off the charts. And why? I mean, listen, this will be very interesting. Do you think the women's national championship game will hold better ratings in their Final Four compared to the men's this year? I think there's a distinct possibility it might.
Oof. I don't know about that one, D-Mac. Unfortunately, I still just think men's basketball and men's sports in general just typically tend to dominate those numbers. I mean, how many people tuned into the championship? I haven't seen the final numbers. Do either one of you know?
I'll tell you this. The women are bigger celebrities than the men, that's for sure. So we're hoping San Diego State does something special tonight because, hey, pull the upset. Go Aztecs. That would be something else. You can't lose by 20 tonight. You can't lose by 20.
Oh my gosh, please no. What was the locker room like after the game? Because I think that can tell you a lot about the mentality of going forward. I feel like this even happened in the women's game. Caitlin Clark and them, they celebrated hardcore, right? Like they had their quote unquote Super Bowl moment. And I feel like after those moments tend to happen, they never have that same success the night after or the game following.
Yeah, there's obviously a 10-minute cooling off period before we can go into the locker room as media. We go in there, and this team, you're asking them questions about the shot and their initial emotions, and they're obviously very excited about it. But a lot of the players, their consistent message was, okay, we got to move on from this. We got to move on from this win and look to the next one. And I think they are just so focused on getting this job done and winning a national championship for San Diego State, because you look at that team in 2020 that they had, a number of players, Malachi Flynn leading San Diego State. They go 30-2 on the season, and they're not able to go play in the NCAA tournament. This is for that group of guys and for all the players that laid the foundation beforehand. And so I think this group, yes, they cherish the moment. They live in the moment while they have it. But then they go back, get some sleep, and then they're ready. They're ready to go. And that, even talking to them yesterday, they're just so focused on this next game. And it's really cool to see. They're a really cool group of guys, and go Aztecs. That's all I have to say. I'm ready for this. This game's not till 8 o'clock. I feel like I'm waiting on pins and needles till tonight.
I can't even imagine being a player or a coach too. And being a fan, it's so much fun. I know you're obviously there working, but I would say just enjoy the moment because it's like such an exciting time. Because the Aztecs or a Mountain West team hadn't made it past the Sweet 16 before. Am I correct?
Yeah, I mean, this San Diego State team, first ever Mountain West team to make it to a Final Four. I mean, it's ridiculous the history that we're witnessing right now. I think you've said it, like pinch me moments. Like I don't think we're all realizing what we're witnessing right now. I mean, this is my first Final Four, and this is what we're witnessing right now. I mean, one of the best shots in college basketball history we see with Lamont Butler. I mean, it's crazy, but yeah, a lot of history being made right now for San Diego State and the Mountain West.
How did they do it? How did they build this kind of team in Mountain West? What was the magic formula?
Yeah, so I actually talked to Matt Bradley about this at the Mountain West Championship game, and I said, this is a San Diego State team, and in general, you hear about the portal. This is a San Diego State team that has attacked the portal for many years and has brought guys in. They recruit such great guys to come into the program, and they know that the number one thing is you're going to have to play defense, right? But it's the off-season bonding that they do. I mean, they're just such a close-knit group of guys. Being around this team, throughout the Mountain West Championship and even till now with the national championship, the chemistry is undeniable with this team. And I think that's really cool because I said, how are you doing that with getting guys from the portal and then creating that chemistry? Because, it's not like you can just plug and play players sometimes. You have to have that chemistry. And I think they've done a really good job of doing that and creating that chemistry, and you're seeing that play over.
All right, Bridget. Break it down. We don't have a whole lot of San Diego State fans in the chat by any means. Mac and I, it's not like we know the entire roster for this Aztecs team. So give us 2 names that if you're just tuning into the game tonight that you should know.
Yeah, so Matt Bradley had been pretty quiet the last few games for San Diego State, and he absolutely went off for the Aztecs on Saturday. Look to see him get going early on. He hit some big shots early on that really kind of, I think, kept the momentum going for them and kept their spirits high even when they were down against FAU. And then I think it's not one player, but it's this San Diego State bench. I was talking to the director of player development yesterday, JD Pollock, and he said, Jaden Ledee first said that he thinks they have the best bench in America, but Pollock was telling me, it's almost like they've got another platoon of starters on the bench, and that's what has really been the difference for this team. So that bench is Jaden Ledee, Micah Parrish, Agwek Arope, Adam Seiko, some really experienced players that just change the game for this San Diego State team. So Matt Bradley in the bench. That's all you got to know about the Aztecs.
All right. Well, I'm excited. I'm excited for you, Bridget. Have so much fun tonight. I think everybody here in the chat, both DMAC and myself, we will be rooting for the Aztecs tonight too. Let's see an upset. So have fun today.
I love it. Thank you so much, guys. Thanks for having me on, and go Aztecs.
Go Aztecs. All right, Bridget Howard right there. I love her. She's always been absolutely fantastic and such like just a little joy every single time I see her too. So I'm really excited for her tonight. I'm also so jealous, DMAC. We obviously did the first and second round here in Denver, and I can't even imagine the intensity of an arena for like a Final Four or national championship. Like I have goosebumps for her just thinking about it.
You know why you can't imagine it, Rachel? Because we don't have the facility to actually hold a Final Four. But if we have the right thing that happens with our glorious owners of the Broncos, once they sell the team, we'll get that stadium in 9 years.
Oh my goodness. Okay, I want to know, you are taking we're rooting for the Aztecs, but
I'm taking on all the way. I mean, they're probably gonna I mean, come on. But listen, I'm all for the upset. I'm all for the action, and sure, I'll. Why would I root for UConn? I went to Syracuse. We hate UConn. UConn was a big enemy. I don't root for UConn, Rachel, for any reason. So cool.
I am going to look up live what the over/under is.
What?
Plus 7.5 for San Diego State. That's the spread.
I'll take UConn if we're just talking about that sort of stuff. But you never know. It's college basketball. And, things are so diluted now because better players just don't even play college basketball, or they're just one and done or whatever.
Did you see Grady Dick is going into the NBA from Kansas?
Listen, you're going to have fewer and fewer. Are you watching Victor Wembanyama out there in France? I mean, listen, there's going to be more guys, Rachel, that just say, hey, now listen, they are getting paid in college. They are. So maybe that, I mean, but like, would you rather get paid and not have to go to class and just be a pro athlete? Or would you rather have to, like, fake your way through like 6 months of classes? And I say 6 months because you got to finish the fall. Well, that's 4. And then you got to stay eligible for, 2. And then nobody, finishes, their freshman year if you're one of those type of guys. The reason why I like college basketball is actually, this is going to sound crazy, but with fewer of the elite guys actually playing in college, it kind of evens things out. So you just see better games. And because they're better games, Rachel, they're so unpredictable. I mean, anything can really happen. So it's a lower level of basketball for sure, because the better players aren't even there. But the level of competition is such that it makes it much more dramatic. And that's why you see FAU and San Diego State. And you probably, very likely, that'll keep happening unless these big schools, Rachel, just back up the Brinks truck with NIL money, and they just convince these guys who would go to Europe or the G League or some other form beside college, convince them to come play college basketball for a year. I think they should just I think college basketball, real quick, should go to the college baseball model, meaning you can go directly from high school to the professional league. However, if you decide to not do that, you have to spend 3 years before you're eligible. And that is the way it is in baseball. You can get drafted right out of high school, but if you do decide to play college baseball, you can't be drafted for 3 years after your high school graduation. I think they should adopt that.
I learned something new today. I did not know that about baseball.
Yes, sir. That's the way it goes.
Interesting. I kind of actually like that model a lot.
Yeah, if you're good enough, just go. And frankly,
yeah,
it is different with baseball and basketball because basketball guys, well, Peyton Watson is only like 20 years old. He only spent 1 year at UCLA. And so now he's developing. Now, would Peyton Watson develop better? Now, you just saw him play great in an NBA game. So the answer would be a professional. But would you be better off playing 3 years and developing in a college system or playing minor league baseball or riding on the bench? Peyton Watson had to play for Grand Rapids to even get time. Well, if he was on UCLA's team, which was one of the top-ranked teams, you realize Peyton Watson would be a national star, Rachel, had he stayed on the UCLA team, which for most of the season was like the number 2 team in the entire country. We would the whole country would know Peyton Watson's name had he stayed at UCLA. So what's better for him?
It does open up that conversation. Like, if you had the talents to go into the NBA, would you do it, or would you do the college experience?
For basketball, I would go to the NBA. For baseball, I would say at a high level of college baseball. Because I really do think the highest levels of college baseball are equivalent to, I'd say, double-A professional baseball. I mean, we're talking, the top levels.
Yeah.
So, and I think you're just better off as a human being to, sort of grow under that. But I'm not going to take money away from young people that deserve it and earned it, who work their ass off for it. I'm just saying that I've seen baseball just spit up and chew out guys, and I don't think your odds of going, rookie ball, class A, high A, it takes 3 or 4 years anyway to be a major league baseball player. These basketball guys, Rachel, they're NBA contributors, like that. There's a history of that. It's just 2 different sports. So I would just make it easier for those guys to become professionals at 18. And if you decide not to, okay, cool. Then you're in college or somewhere for 3 years. I mean, maybe not the NBA, but we're not restricting people on when they can become, when they can work for a living and earn money.
Okay, so Peyton Watson's salary this year is $2,193,960.
Yeah.
I guarantee he can make more money with that through NIL money nowadays. And so it opens up the question of you can still get paid a lot of money, but you're going to actually be the star instead of sitting on the bench or going down to the G League.
Well, here's the real question with Peyton Watson, and you'd have to help me out. I don't know exactly where he was drafted. I believe it was in the second round. You can look it up. But here's what's interesting. What would his money be? I get he's making $2 million this year, which is fantastic. Good for him.
No kidding.
But what would his money be had he stayed in college, was in the Final Four, and became a top 10 draft pick rather than where he got taken? What would his money be then if he could have waited one more year?
I mean, it probably would go up from the $2 million that he's seeing.
Yeah, but
Maybe
how?
what, 4?
The side, of course, Rachel. The other side is how in the world do you turn down $2 million when you're like 20 years old and to be a
But
professional?
NIL, man, that just changes the game. I mean, some of those athletes are making like 10, 12, 15 million dollars a year on those sponsorships.
So what do you think the facilities are like at Grand Rapids compared to UCLA? but he's been with the Nuggets for most of the season. He has. He's been with the Nuggets for most of the season. But when he had to develop, he's made a lot of road trips to Grand Rapids.
I'm literally looking it up to see what their facilities look like compared to the Denver Nuggets facilities right now for practicing. Obviously, Ball Arena is really nice, but their practice facility is nothing.
Yeah,
Nothing to brag about.
Yeah, I'm sure the UCLA practice facility is miles beyond the Denver Nuggets.
Yeah.
But there's other benefits to being part of an NBA team in terms of how you live, travel, accommodations. We have lousy practice facilities and accommodations, but we have a major stadium filled with 19,000 people. UCLA basketball is lucky to get like moms and dads to show up these days. I mean, it's not what it used to be. Okay. So let's not fool ourselves here. Let's stay with Grand Rapids. Let me compare it to Grand Rapids compared to UCLA. Hey, listen, either way, it's a fascinating conversation because would you be better off playing in the Final Four, playing for UCLA, or are you just seriously better off playing for Grand Rapids and developing against other professionals?
I don't know what I would do because I think about the moment seems so much bigger when it comes to March Madness than it does with the NBA. And that sounds surprising to say because when I think about it, I'm like, oh, the Nuggets winning like a national championship, right? Like that would just be so cool. But it still feels like March Madness is a bigger thing. And I think more people are actually interested in college basketball than they are NBA basketball.
Yeah, because we get fooled. Because the level of the competition is so much lower than talent in the NBA. They're closer games. And so it comes across as really, really exciting and anything can happen. But Rachel, the talent level is so much significantly lower than the NBA. I mean, it's a joke. True. I mean, whatever we see tonight, if any of those guys that plays tonight, any of them, even makes an NBA roster and contributes to any degree, like Christian Braun and Peyton Watson did last night, I'll be surprised. And don't forget, the Nuggets, oh boy, this is a great trivia question. The Nuggets have 2 national collegiate champions on their team. Can you name them? Really tricky question.
Christian Braun.
Kansas, yes. Who's the other one?
Don't tell me.
Okay, really hard. Not easy.
I know. In my head, I want to be like, oh, Duke or Kentucky and Jamal Murray, but...
fair guess. No, but fair guess. Good guess.
Where did Jeff Green play?
Oh, my, Georgetown. A million gajillion years ago. It's not him.
Let's see. Nobody.
You're on the wrong. You're not even close, so I might as well give it to you.
Okay.
Colin Gillespie.
Oh, man, yeah.
Right. He was with Villanova. He broke his leg in the summer league.
Oh.
And he's had like a red shirt year. He's the dude that takes like 1,000 shots. If you show up an hour before the game, you get the Colin Gillespie show out there. But he's the guy on the bench. You see him on the bench every single game. He's the short white dude that's always really jacked up. It's like, haven't you ever wondered, like, who's that guy? That's Colin Gillespie. And by the way, with Colin Gillespie, who's a dynamite shooter, Peyton Watson, there's some depth with the Nuggets that we haven't really even talked that much about. That's really bodes well for the future. Colin's a really great guy. He's an amazing shooter. He just is having a redshirt year because, he got a really unfortunate accident. But he's been with the team the entire year. He's been with them every game, every practice. He's been around, and he had his first full court practice with the team just last week, and he got a standing ovation when he came out for the practice from the rest of his teammates. It's a low-key, really cool story with the Nuggets.
Nice. I love it. Yeah, there's tons of Nuggets talks to be had, including the depth, because you're right, there is actually a lot of depth. You got to give a lot of credit to Calvin Booth and the Nuggets organization as a whole. But D-Mac, I'm a little disappointed in you, and do you know why? Any idea?
There's so many reasons to be disappointed in me. It would take me forever just to go through the laundry list of reasons. So, no, what?
We come up with this great idea on Thursday before I leave for my weekend about how you're going to say, I know the Rockies suck.
Oh, right.
And then give one positive. Well, Clint kept it up with you when they won their first 2 games on Twitter. I don't know if you saw that, but I'm disappointed I never saw even one from you.
Okay, is it too late? I'm happy.
So. I don't think so. I think there's still plenty of games left to be played. The baseball season is very long. So
can I be honest with you?
Yes.
I got a little weird about that because they actually won their first 2 games. And I was like, I thought about it, but I was like, can I really say they suck if they've won their first 2 games? Now, they figured that out as they lost their next 2 games. So maybe I could get back to it. But, okay, I'm glad you brought that up. I thought about it for sure. I did not engage, but I am happy. And I can go back because I watched all the games. I watched all 4 games. I'm a complete glutton for punishment, Rachel, on the Rockies. I watched all the games. So
okay. I like it. I think you should do it. I think it's fun. And I think even though they won their first 2 games, they started out hot last year too, and look at where they ended up. I think people will understand the joke, but of course now they're like 500 on the season, so it's typical Rockies.
All right, I should get back into it. I wanted to do it in the first place, so
I love it.
No problem. Maybe that's the way to go. Maybe it's a game-to-game thing on Twitter, and it's a recap of the week at denversports.com. Maybe it's something like kind of along those lines.
There you go. You need to get on the Mile High podcast or Mile High Baseball podcast with Jake Shapiro.
I would always be happy to do that. He's taking over for me. I did that last year with Patrick Saunders, and I did such a great job they didn't even ask me back. So I can't even be a guest on the show that I hosted last year.
Listen. I don't think it was the quality of the product by any means, but you host a 4-hour radio show every single day, the longest one we have on our radio station. You're a part of Coffee Break every single day. You attend every single home Nuggets and Avs game, and you watch every single away game if you're not attending in a game. And you are also writing for denversports.com. So I don't think it was the quality. I just think you have a very busy schedule, and we're so very, very lucky to have you.
Rachel, I'm so paranoid about being fired at any moment that I mean, listen, do any closets need to be swept out? Can I wash anybody's window? I mean, seriously, just don't quite fire me. That's all I'm begging for.
I think you're going to be all right. Okay, on that note, though, a wonderful show. Huge shout out to Bridget Howard for joining us to go Aztecs tonight. Let's see an upset. And to everybody else in the comments, we appreciate having you every single morning. And tomorrow morning, we'll be back. We'll talk a little bit about that national championship, and then both the Avs and Nuggets play tomorrow, so we will get into all of that talk. We hope you guys have a wonderful Monday, and we will see you tomorrow. Bye, everybody.